It's midday here in Moscow. You're watching RT International with me, Nikki Aaron. Thank you for joining us this hour. As President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take office, he's once again causing a stir in Western media. Reports are emerging that his son discussed a, quote, way to cooperate with Russia to end the Syrian conflict. This came during private talks in Paris last month. Trump Jr. reportedly joined an event for diplomats, business leaders and politicians, hosted by a Western think tank, the Center of Political and Foreign Affairs. Well, RT spoke to event co-host Randa Kassis, who's also a Syrian opposition group leader.
I had a chance to talk to Donald Jr. at a dinner. We discussed Syria and exchanged some ideas on how to find a political solution and reach agreements between Russia and the US over the issue. It seemed to me that Mr. Trump Jr. was pragmatic enough and can evaluate the complexity of the Syrian conflict. It's good that he is aware of the fact that we cannot have a political solution without an agreement with Russia. We need to start a real political process and an agreement between the US and Russia. Unfortunately, the Obama administration has always led a double game. Even when Kerry was willing to separate the armed but so-called moderate opposition from the extremist insurgents, even when he was agreeing with Russia and with us to separate the opposition, he wasn't doing anything when he came back home. We need to get real. Bashar Assad is not the main problem at the moment. The main thing is how we can begin the real changes to the system and the regime. We don't know all of the people who will be in the US administration, but I'm hopeful, because some of them want to destroy Islamism like we do.
Disclosure of October's negotiations in Paris has strengthened expectations that the new US administration will side with Moscow in the conflict. It's something Trump has hinted at on numerous occasions during his election campaign.
It would be so great if we could get Russia on our side and other countries on our side and knock the hell out of ISIS.
I believe an easing of tensions and improved relations with Russia from a position of strength only is possible, absolutely possible.
And I would get along with Russia, and I'll get along with Putin, and he's not going to make us look bad anymore. But we're going to get along.
Russia doesn't like ISIS any better than we do. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with Russia and you could knock them out together? Wouldn't that be a good thing, as opposed to, you know, tough talk?
With Trump winning the keys to the White House, many wonder whether he'll actually carry out his ambitious campaign promises, not least to mend relations with Moscow over the Syrian crisis and agree on a joint campaign against Islamic State in the region. Well, my colleague Rory Souchet discussed what changes the Trump administration can bring to end the conflict in Syria.
There's reports about this meeting between his son and figures who have been in contact, at least with the Russian government, certainly indicate that there will be a radical change of policy compared to the outgoing Obama administration, which, of course, since the start of the conflict in Syria, has been a staunch supporter of various opposition groups. The Obama administration was basically supporting any militant group that was willing to overthrow the current Syrian government. Of course, up until now, the Obama administration continues to insist that there is no future for Bashar al-Assad as president.
We know Trump is putting together the new team to pursue this new course. He has named the new U.S. ambassador to the UN, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Now, you would also expect her to take a different stance as opposed to the outgoing Samantha Power.
Reasonable to expect that this blame game against Russia at the UN Security Council may now be coming to an end.
Russia is illegally occupying part of somebody else's country, your country.
Stop pretending you are not doing what you are doing. Russia has tried to deny justice, regime and Russian terror. What you just heard from the Russian ambassador showed more imagination than Tolstoy or Chekhov. You cannot carry out a massive military offensive and say you are for peace. That might work on Russia today. And they're calling this emergency meeting? Really? Now, because of a single airstrike,
And Lizzie, what do we know about Trump's new pick for the job? How different do you think she is going to be from her predecessor?
Well, Nikki Haley is a 44-year-old governor for South Carolina. She was, in fact, a strong critic of Trump during the election campaign, which caused some eyebrows to be raised when he picked her as the new representative for the U.S. in the United Nations. She has very little foreign policy experience. However, Trump has called her a proven deal maker, and so there is some expectation that she will find common ground with Russia. When we look at how the rest of his team is shaping up and how that's going to affect the incoming administration's policy on Syria, still a lot of uncertainty. For example, when we look at the appointment for National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn, we know that for some time Flynn has been arguing that the United States and Russia should join forces to fight ISIS. He's been saying that the United States' sole focus should be on fighting ISIS instead of attacking the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And this is generally reflective of what we're seeing so far from Trump's team, that it's open to re-engaging with Russia, however, still quite hostile to some of the Syrian government's other allies. So while there are radical changes expected here in Damascus from the incoming administration, still a lot of uncertainty about how that's actually going to change the situation here on the ground in Syria.